أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم اللعين بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على سيدنا محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين اللهم صل على محمد وآل Muhammad. Thank you so much everyone for joining. Today is the fourth day in the program for the organization Alif, where we are reflecting together every day until the 28th of April on the Holy Quran. We explain 10 minutes exegesis of the Holy Quran, and then we will open up the floor for discussion. So I will share my screen, inshallah, so we can start this session. Right. So today, my dear brothers and sisters, is one of the most fascinating verses of the Quran that I have read. Okay. And it's really mind-blowing. And that's why I thought today will be good for me to share this with you and ask a really interesting question at the end, which I will love for your contribution, inshallah. But let me go through this particular verse. And the topic is majority of believers actually do shirk. Okay. And this is where it gets very juicy and interesting. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in surah Yusuf alayhi salam, verse 106, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. So I need you to focus here. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that most of those believers, right? Most of the believers, so you and I, most of the believers who believe in me are actually what? They associate someone else with me. So they are mushrikun, right? So you and I, the believers of Allah, are actually mushrikun. He says majority of you. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ, majority of you, right? Except while they associate others with him, right? Isn't that mind-blowing? Did you know this? Verse 106 of Surah Yusuf alayhi salam. So what is this shirk? What are we talking about here? Is it the shirk where we I don't want to sound like these Wahhabis where they say shirk brother, shirk. No, but this is something that majority of people don't know about, and it's not, this verse doesn't refer to the apparent shirk. The apparent shirk is when you associate some god with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So something you associate, you say, look, I believe in multiple gods, like some other religions do. Say, I believe in multiple gods, and that's the apparent shirk. No, this is not the apparent shirk. This, interestingly, my dear brothers and sisters, refers to something called the hidden shirk. Okay, it's the hidden shirk. What is this hidden shirk? This hidden shirk is hidden from those people who don't really open their eyes, right, and open their hearts. And when they find this hidden shirk, right, they realize that this is shirk, so they stop doing it. So what are we talking about here? So one of the things that the exegesis say that it's the hidden shirk, we're going to talk about two things. One is actually sinning. Why? It's because you've got, for example, here a narration from our fifth Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam. He says people are monotheistic, right, in their worship. So when we worship, we say Allahu Akbar, in salah, in fasting, etc. But their obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they associate someone else, right? So they enter into polytheism. So how do we associate? So for example, when I am sinning, so say for example, I am lying or I am backbiting, right? I am actually not conscious of the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't put Allah right in front of me, right? I associate someone with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because I am not following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's guidance here. I'm subconsciously not following Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's guidance, right? So therefore, I am associating someone else with Allah because I am following someone else. I'm going against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, aren't I? If I had Allah right in front of me, right, then I will not be sinning. If Allah is always right in front of me, and I am a monotheistic individual who believes in Allah and just Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah is always right in front of me, I will not be sinning. But of course, we are human, as they say, and we are sinful individuals. So therefore, we divert, we remove Allah from our attention and start to associate others with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, subconsciously, of course. So therefore, that is considered as the hidden shirk. There's another narration from Imam al-Rida alayhi salam that says that polyism in this particular verse does not mean blasphemy and the worship of idols. We don't mean that. Rather, it means focusing one's attention on anything other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When we focus our attention to something other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when I am not conscious, this is what taqwa means, right? God consciousness. When I am not conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in every single act that I do, if I drink water, I am vigilant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I am drinking water, I'm drinking something else, right? Once I am looking at certain things, certain images, am I conscious that Allah is also looking at me, right? What am I looking at here? What am I hearing, right? Where am I going, right? Every single step I take, every breath I take has to be the breath where I breathe in consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Of course, this is all very nice and very flowery and, you know, really interesting talk, but of course, we're all human here. But it's important we do realize that this is hidden shirk. We are actually committing shirk when we are sinning, right? So when you label it like that, it becomes much more alarming, doesn't it? When we actually say that this is hidden shirk. So therefore, but there is a solution where, you know, we try to, of course, and this is the month where we try to train ourselves to avoid sinning. If, for example, my sinning is always looking at certain images that are not permissible, I have to try to lower my gaze. If I'm hearing things that are not permissible, or I'm saying things that are not permissible, for example, ghiba, backbiting, lying, whatever, then I've got to train myself, because otherwise, this is what is hidden shirk. What is the other thing that is hidden shirk? And this is really, really interesting. Is actually praising people before Allah for favors. So, for example, there's a hadith in there that says, so it says, Lawla fulan lahalaka fulan, right? If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have achieved this. Saying that statement, doctor, if it wasn't for your help, I would not have lived in this life. Doctor, if it wasn't for your surgery that you've helped me do this, I will not be alive today. No, this is hidden shirk. You say, if it wasn't for Allah, and then you've got to say Allah first, and then then I wouldn't have done this, right? If it wasn't for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then this individual, I wouldn't have been alive today, right? So a lot of us do this particular, these very, very interesting statements sometimes we make, where we continuously try to say these particular statements subconsciously, right? And this is, my dear brothers and sisters, where I want to divert this discussion now into our faith and Shi'ism in specifically. A lot of us say this. A lot of us say, oh, Imam Hussein, help me, right? Oh, if it wasn't for Imam Hussein's help, I wouldn't have done this, or things wouldn't have gone right. Is this the right thing to say, or is this also hidden shirk? Because if you think about it, our imams are a wasila, right? They're mediators to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the right statement is to say, oh Allah, بحق الحسين, right? Or for the sake of Hussein, do this for me. But if I was to say, oh Hussein, do this for me, that's hidden shirk, isn't it? Because yes, your intention might be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but the statement you say is also important. Saying words we say is important. Oh Hussein, do this for me. Oh Ali, do this for me. Right? No, your dua has to be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Oh Allah, bihaqq Ali ibn Abi Talib. Oh Allah, bihaqq al-Hussein, do this for me. Right? Is the language we use is so important, my dear brothers and sisters, because otherwise it will be hidden shirk. I prayed to Ali, I prayed to Hussein. No, you pray to Allah. Hussein and Ali, alayhim as-salam, are mediators towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? So we've got to get our language right, which takes me